Meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council, Wednesday, January 26th, to order. And Mr. Carl Harding, could you please lead us in an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Heavenly Father, we would like to give recognition to you as, again, the Creator, standing before men, women, boys, and girls, acknowledging the fact that you sent your darling Son, Jesus Christ, to hang, to bleed, to die on Calvary's cross. But most importantly, oh Heavenly Father, that was not a person that he actually saw in need, that he did not take care of. So I ask that your Holy Spirit, oh God, endow itself and empower us, oh God, to make the right decisions for this parish, oh God, that we may go forward, that everyone that be satisfied in the humane circumstances, that we may carry out our lives as great human beings upon this earth that you have created. We ask this blessing in your darling Son, Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hampton, roll call.
Mrs. Domingue? Here. Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin? Here. Mr. Dirk Guidry? Mr. Trosclair? Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding? Mr. Michel? Mr. Amadei? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
And I'd like to welcome the Nichols nursing students in the audience. Thank you all for coming. Approved minutes of the regular council session held on December 15th, 2021. Moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Second.
Seconded Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on January 12th, 2022, which we've done. Approve accounts payable bill list for January 17th, 2022 and January 24th, 2022. Moved by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? General business. Councilman John Amadei, discussion and possible action regarding parliamentary procedure and procedural rules. Mr. Amadei.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year, at the beginning of the year, we were advised by council of a few things that we were doing in the meetings that needed to be changed to line up with the rules. As everybody knows, and if you don't, I'm gonna share a little bit with you, but in our charter, Article 2, 2-07C, the council shall determine by resolution its own rules and order of business and shall provide for keeping a journal of the minutes of its minutes and proceedings. And the council, whenever it was either formed or reformed, I didn't go back and look at the history, had selected Robert's rules as its parliamentary rules and how it was going to conduct its meetings. Well, over the course of time since I've been on the council, I've just been observing, and I think there's some things that we can do even better. And I just wanted to present a couple of things. I spoke with our parish attorney because first and foremost we have to make sure that we don't break any open meeting laws. The state laws overrule everything, and as long as we're good there, then we want to take the next step and take a look at some of the issues we have with following the procedures of Robert's rules. I'm one that believes that sometimes you give a little leeway to a person out of empathy when they come before the council and they're sharing whatever troubles and problems and issues they have. But also, when we're conducting business, there's some rules that we need to follow as well. I don't want to get the reputation of this council being like other parishes who have the knockdown drag-outs that they do. And, you know, back in the years with the police juries, they would even threaten each other to take them out back and have a throwdown. I think we need to refreshen ourselves on what those rules are so that we can conduct ourselves in a proper manner. We need to look at decorum. I think that's a big one. I've always, with any other organization that I was a part of that uses Robert's rules, we don't address individuals directly. We address whatever the agenda item is, the question that's before us, and we deal with that. What I was going to say was sometimes we give a little bit of leeway but I also believe that the rules are there for a reason. In previous organizations, whenever we had an issue, the rules are our safety net, and we go back to those and adjust our behavior in accordance to that. It's what we fall back on. So I don't want people to say that we have to be a stickler to the very T on what we do, because everybody has a little passion for what they're talking about, and you give them a little bit leeway. I think in speaking with the chairman, he understands that as well. So one of the things I would like to do, and I don't know if we really need to do a motion or not, is look for someone that can come and, I don't want to say a refresher course, but that can come and address a couple of things, that can do a Q&A with us on Robert's Rules and help us to operate in our offices in a more professional manner. Another thing, Robert's Rules is has a broad existence. And when Robert's Rules doesn't get to the specific of something, then, as I was reading earlier, the council writes some other rules on how to handle some things. For instance, we have a rule that when a member's speaking on an item, they can only speak 3 times. Those are rules that we don't have to put in law, because we may change them and say, well, let's change that to 4 times. Or when a member of the public is addressing us on something, they have 3 minutes, 4 minutes total. If they use up the 3 minutes, then we'll give them an extra minute to wrap things up. Those are rules that really I haven't seen, and I don't know if anybody else has, where Robert's Rules really addresses that. Those are just the rules that we set for our meeting, for our situations. I want to also urge all my colleagues up here, if you go to the PAR website, Public Affairs Research Council, they've got a lot of information there on the open meeting rules, and this is the same website we go to understand the state constitutional amendments every year. They do a really good job of bringing it into layman's terms on what we're doing and stuff. I did speak with Mr. Hebert again today, and just to make sure that we wouldn't break any open meetings laws if we have a class or if we all get together, because if the council gets together, it's a public meeting and it has to be advertised and go through all the rules of open meeting rules. But Mr. Hebert assured me that because it's educational, then we can do this. And in fact, just today he told me an attorney general's opinion on such a thing actually came out. I don't have it with me to read it to you, but for my fellow members that are up here, I would hope that you would agree that it would be a good thing. That way we can see what we're doing, make sure that we're doing it right, make sure that the decisions that we make can't be contested because we violated open meetings rules or some other effect. So I'll be quiet for just a moment in case anybody wants to say anything, if you agree with me or disagree with me. I really appreciate it. The only thing that we'll need to do is find that somebody that's out there. I know Mr. Navy had suggested somebody at one time. So thank you.
Mr. Navy?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to come into, and he's right. I did speak with President Dove about that too, and we have some people that would like to come do some educational training, leadership training, and I think that's something that we really do need, not just from a point of council, but from a point of making sure that we have good people skills to the community and good representation of the people that we represent. So I spoke with him about that. We are getting something together with that. So once I get that together, I bring that situation to the council and the individuals that will be involved in the process. And I think it will be good. And I think it will be a good thing for all of us. So thank you.
Mr. Guidry?
Yeah, I think if we go to Police Jury Association, there might be some kind of instructor from the Police Jury Association. They come and teach us the class. So that might be something to look into.
And Ms. Domain and I will be going to the Police Association convention, and we can find out whether they have such a person. Mr. Babin?
Yes, in asking John, Mr. Amade, when you talk about parliamentary procedure and procedural rules, this can encompass executive sessions, it can encompass what we do up here. I think we need the whole gamut of it, is what I'm trying to say, all right? Not just a specific area, just with Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary procedure. I think we need to be addressed in every area of what we have. Thank you.
Mr. Amity?
Yeah, and I think in following that, that's what I want. I want a broad scope of what we're to do. I mean, look, I like everybody. When I get emotional or passionate about an issue, sometimes I forget where I'm at and what I'm doing and might get a little outside the box. And I think this would help us all so that we can understand how we're to behave and conduct ourselves. Let me put it that way instead of behave. Let me just say how we're to conduct ourselves, whether it be, because some people think executive sessions, we can vote in there. We don't vote on anything inside of an executive session. But then that way we can present to the people that we're up here, you know, we have differences. But when it comes to the work of the parish, if it's good for the parish, and I'm going to speak for myself, then it's good for the parish. If it's not good for the parish, then it's not good for the parish. So I don't care who proposes it, who wants it, whatever it is. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. And we can do with our personalities outside of the meetings. And like when I started, I just think that we can do better, and we should always desire to do better.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. Amity. And I did copy a few pages of Robert's Rules of Order, just a couple of things that I noticed in rereading it. It just has a little more information for me, like if there is a point of order, exactly what my goal is. If you guys call a point of order, then technically I'm supposed to stop what is going on, hear your point of order, and then rule on that of whether or not procedure is not being followed, in which case get into regular order. There's also some information on the reading of papers from outside sources at meetings, and also kind of what Mr. Amity, what you had mentioned as far as the manner in which the discussion has to occur. And I think this extends, and I want to read this part because it extends also to the general public, and that is when a question's pending, a member can condemn the nature or likely consequences of the proposed measure in strong terms, but he must avoid personalities, and under no circumstances can he attack or question the motives of another member. And that extends also to the general public. So if you're coming and speaking, you can speak on the issue. You can, in strong terms, say why you're against the issue, but you cannot attack a department head. You can't give anything that is considered a personal or individual attack. We stick strictly onto the measure that we're discussing. If there's a problem, we stick on the problem, not necessarily the personalities. And so it extends beyond the council members, but I do want to point that out. And I've tried to abide by that. I want to do a little better with that this year. But I think we've done our best to avoid that. Mr. Amity.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say one more thing. I had on there possible action. I don't think we need to propose any action. It sounds like Mr. Navy is working on something. Mr. Dirk Guidry recommended something that you guys are going to take up when you go to the conference, so I'm not proposing any action be taken.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Any more discussion? Moving on to item B, Councilman Gerald Michel, discussion and possible action related to the process of council members getting information from administration through the public records request. Mr. Michel.
Thank you.
I just want to know, I've been asking for 6 or 8 months about information that involves an accusation that was made toward me that I wanted that an attorney was hired and spent a whole lot of money on, and I just want to know 2 things. And I've 2 things. One, what was the outcome of it, and the second one is how much money did they spend on it. And I've asked several times for that information, and I'd like somebody to give me an answer of why I'm unable to get that.
Mr. Hebert?
Mr. Michel, you made a public records request. To my knowledge, the public records custodian, Mark Black, answered you and provided you with the answers as to the information that you could get and the information you couldn't get. So you were responded to my knowledge. And obviously so, because I know that the attachments that you're talking about on the legal fees, which is public, was responded to in the same email. So you were answered.
When was that?
Well, it was recently because you got the attachment to the legal fees.
Well, and that may very well be. I have not checked my email in about 3 days.
What I'm saying, and how would you know about the legal fees?
I don't know about the legal fees.
Oh, I thought you just said you knew.
No,
about
I have
the
no
legal
idea
fees.
about the legal
Well,
fees.
check emails because Mark Black responded to you. I'm 99% sure I saw the email, the carbon copy come through and sent to me.
I hope so. I appreciate that.
That you responded to.
No, I didn't respond to it.
No, I said he responded to you.
Okay, and I hope that's the case. And if it's not the case or if it's not satisfactory, I'll bring it up at the next meeting. But thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, that's not addressed. That shouldn't be addressed at the meeting. That's a public records request that's handled by administration, and you should deal with that with Mr. Black.
Yeah, but if it's not dealt with appropriately, I will deal with it at a meeting.
I just want to make it clear on the record, because I want to make it clear on the record so everybody will know that Attorney General Opinion 02391 and Attorney General Opinion 10-0049 states that when a councilman makes a request for records, it has to be done through a public records request. So when I advise on this, I'm not doing this shooting off the hip. I look this stuff up. All right, anybody wants, I'll share opinions with you, but it's very, very clear, and I'll quote, "We note the ability of individual council member to request access to public records in his or her official capacity provides no greater access under the Public Records Act than an ordinary citizen." So
I believe that that's accurate. I have no reason to doubt that. But what I don't understand is 2 things. Number one is why I don't recall any other council before these past few years having to do this. And I don't recall from the other council people that I've spoken to in other political subdivisions, they don't have to do it. I mean, it's always been a courtesy thing.
I don't think that's...
And secondly, I'd love to know how many of the councilmen and women here today have ever had to make a public records request as opposed to just asking for something.
Well, I don't know whether what you're stating is accurate or inaccurate, but I presume that since these Attorney General opinions were requested back in 2003 and 2010, that somebody's following the law. And as you know, Mr. Michel, there's a lot of things I've cleaned up that were not, in my opinion, being done correct as regards to open meetings laws and Robert's Rules of Order. So, with that said, I'll share opinions with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. The next item on the agenda I just put as a placeholder as a result of the item coming up after staff reports. This was only if necessary. I just put it on there. There's no action necessary, but this was, I have to read it pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 42:1617. The council may, if necessary, convene an executive session in order to discuss the professional competence of a department head, and that was related to our next item, which is staff reports. Ratify Parish President Gordon Dove's appointment of Jules P. Hebert, Parish Attorney, and the following as Assistant Parish Attorneys: Courtney Alcock, Derek Bursajay, Vincent DeGate, Chris Ernie, Kent Lee Fairchild, Craig Landry, John Landon, Tanner McGee, Brian Marceau, Michelle Neal, Brianna Wilson Ogeron, Gary Williams, and Patrick Yancey. We have a motion by Ms. Jessica Domain to approve, followed by, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Mr. Danny Babin.
Yes, thank you. You know, last year, and I just want to kind of clear the air a little bit. Last year, when it came up to raise the salary of the attorneys, I voted against it. Now, I only voted against it at that time because I just didn't think it was not necessary, because I understand what the prices were in other areas. I was more concerned about our parish employees, but administration put into the budget a raise for everyone. I forget 4.9%, whatever it was. So I feel much better about that now, because now all our employees were able to get a raise, okay? And with that being said, I'm voting in favor of you tonight. But I just want to ask the chairman, this past year, he's talked about the possibility of having an attorney for the council. Are you still pursuing that, Mr. Guidry? And how is that going to affect this?
We have an attorney for the council. Do you want to elaborate,
that's not
Mr.
what I
Rader?
asked. You talked to us about having a separate attorney for the council, Mr. Guidry, and I'm just asking if that's something that you're going to continue to pursue, or we're just going to leave it like it's always been.
A point of order, that is not on our agenda, and that is not an item.
Attorneys, okay?
You know,
Okay, well,
but
that's fine.
we're not talking
Put it
about
as an
it.
agenda item next week. Thank you.
Feel free. Let's see, Mr. Navy.
Yeah. Actually, I just want to just make a point about some things that I talked to Mr. Jews about. And I want to congratulate definitely all the attorneys that's on the list. And Gary Williams is one of the guys on there. And I think it's very important, and it's something that we discussed. And Julie and I are kind of on the same board with this. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a thing that's big for us now in this parish. And I think diversity, equity, and inclusion means that, you know, we're diversifying a lot of our boards to make, you know, for women, minorities, everyone to be inclusive on a percentage of these. I'm sorry. I'm not very white, but, you know, I'm trying my best. But I think that, like I just said, I think congratulations on all the attorneys that are just getting ratified tonight. And one of the attorneys, you know, Gary Williams is one of the ones that I'm so glad that he's on there. But, you know, I just said about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think there need to be a process with the parish with women and minorities. And I like to see those things. And I see Ms. Argeron is also one of the ones that's going to be also inclusive in this process. And I tell you that that's a big thing now, the direction that we need to go, be inclusive and involving everybody in the process of government. So, and I've asked Jews tonight and on several occasions, and he has tried his best, but I understand that, but we want to try definitely harder to make sure we even do that with our attorneys too, the good representation. And I know you have done a great job in the past in making sure that, you know, we abide by the things that we request and ask. So I'm just asking that a process, just like we're doing with the boards in this parish, also with that aspect of the attorneys also. I think it's very important. But I want to congratulate everyone. Mr. Argeron, I definitely spoke with your father-in-law, and he's definitely excited about that process too, you being ratified. So I just want to say thank you all. Jude?
Mr. Hebert?
The Navy, obviously, we try to hire the most qualified, and we try to include everybody that we can with regards to diversity. I took on, during Christmas break, a young man that's going to Southern, Kyler McGuire. He worked for us, very nice young man, worked with me. He was recommended to come work with me because he was told he would learn, and he's welcome back. As I told you, I interviewed 2 minority attorneys. We offered the job to one. He didn't want to move from New Orleans, but it was his. And we have a young lady from Homer a minority, that we were in the process of offering her the job, and she took a job in Baton Rouge. And I thought Brian actually interviewed her, and she was coming in for the second interview, and we were going to offer the job, but she was getting married, and so she wanted to stay in Baton Rouge. We send letters out to all the law schools. At times it is hard to find young attorneys that want to sometimes branch in this type of work, because this is not standard type work. So, but anybody that you have and you think that you want to send them. I'll interview them.
Right, and look, with that being said now, since you said that, you are actually from Southern University Law School.
That is correct.
So I want you to start sending letters to Southern University Law School.
Jaguar.
Okay.
All right.
No offense to Grambling, okay? They beat us in the Bayou Classic, okay? But you make sure you get those letters out to Southern University Law School.
No, we've sent letters to all of
I just remember that when you said that, okay?
There's just, and the pool of kids going to law school in this area is just not that great. But I mean, we need people from time to time. Not everybody on this list actually works for my firm, although they are assistant parish attorneys.
And just for the record, I like to brag on this sometimes. They don't realize how many lawyers in Terrebonne Parish actually graduate from Southern University Law School, including your DA. Okay, Mr. Waits is actually a Jaguar. So I want the public to know that you know, Southern University got a great law school. I'm sitting here promoting Southern, by the way, okay? Just want to let you know. All right.
Two of your judges.
All right, Mr. Navy. Mr. Michel.
So, you know, just for the record, Mr. Hebert, I think you're an excellent attorney. I think you're a likable guy. But and as far as all of the assistants, you know, y'all in the package, and I love y'all. Okay. But the fact is, I think you're administration's attorney, and you know, I think when there's a disagreement between administration and the council, you're going to paint it in administrative eyes, and the very fact that there's been a struggle to stop the council from getting its own attorney, or even allowing one of the appointed assistants to be able to confidentially speak to council members, kind of just confirms that. So it's nothing personal. I do appreciate you. I appreciate your efforts and your ability, and I certainly love all the assistants. But I am going to, of course, vote against. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Let's get to Mr. Harding first, and then you can respond, Mr. Hebert. Mr. Harding?
Yes, I think whoever we decide to, we're at this point where Mr. Hebert seems to be the front runner, and he's the only one representing here. But then there was some discussion in reference to this, and in the package that I read, that this council can at any time hire their own attorney. But the provision there that Mr. Hebert has classified as a department head would actually be the overseer of that particular. Am I correct, Mr. Hebert?
No, not exactly. The parish council cannot retain hire its own attorney. This has not just happened here. There's old AG. This has happened in the past with the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated government going back years. This happens quite frequently in the political divide. It happens around the state. The Attorney General has issued opinions. You have to look at the charter. There's one parish attorney, and he's over all assistant parish attorneys. The attorneys are appointed by the parish president, and they are subject to ratification by the council. What the Attorney General has said is that the parish attorney represents the executive branch, which happens to be the parish president, and the legislative branch, what happens to be not individual council members, what happens to be the council. The council operates by a majority vote. So I represent the council, and I represent the executive branch, which happens to be, it can only be one parish president. Now, sometimes y'all have political and different differences. What I do is there's not a thing I don't give y'all that I don't put in writing. My job is to represent the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated government to the best of my ability, and to represent the executive and the legislative branch, which I've done. And it's because some people don't like the opinions I render, maybe, or some of them. I give it to you in writing, and I back it up. And anybody that knows me, if they can say, if Martin Fall says, will you give one word that describes you? When I close my eyes, it'll be thorough. I am thorough. So I want to make that clear that if you don't agree with my opinion, then you can request an Attorney General's opinion. Okay? I mean, if that's what you really feel like, that I'm not. But as I know this has come up before about this, but nobody goes to the Attorney General. And you know why? Because that person knows that what I'm saying is accurate. So, so you cannot, the only time that they could be another attorney that could be appointed for the council is if I determine that I have a professional conflict of interest. That would be if the conflict came between the legislative branch and the executive branch to where I said, y'all have a dispute and therefore I cannot represent the body as a whole. That's my professional determination. That's what the Attorney General says. You can't have a bunch of attorneys running around here. We can't have an attorney for the council that's going to come and every time is going to be challenging me, okay, and be challenging. You would turn into complete misguided anarchy. Nobody does that. Check around and see. Go tell me who in this form of government has got a separate attorney for a council to go against the parish attorney. It violates the Home Rule Charter. One last thing I do want to correct. Mr. Babin, you said that about increasing salary. It was not about increase. I don't work on the salary. We're paid by the hour, an hourly rate. So you can't compare parish employees' hourly rates to these type of. I just want to make that clear on the record that somebody thinks, because that's, in my opinion, that's apples and oranges. But in any event, I respect your decision and I understand that. But just so I want that clear, and as a matter of fact, again, it's addressed in these opinions about a retaining of separate counsel for a council, and it explains. I have the opinions. So what I do is I look this stuff up. Well, why would I want to be wrong? I mean, so I hope have I answered your question, Carl?
Yeah, it was a statement that, when I read that, there was some discussion in this package that we have that in reference to the possibility of another attorney. And so under those circumstances, even though if there wasn't another attorney to come in, you still are the department head and have the final say.
Well, there can't be another attorney to come in unless I decide that I have a professional conflict, and then I would advise the executive branch and the legislative branch, y'all have a disagreement, it's serious, I cannot be involved, we'll have to bring in somebody else. All that you have to do is read the Home Rule Charter and you will see about who chooses attorney and for what reason. And that's why you would have that in there, just in case you ever had that separation of power issue, okay, which to my knowledge we have not, because y'all having disagreements, doesn't put that into me, okay? I mean, that's never really come up. So, I mean, it's, believe me, if I saw something that would put me at odds between the two branches, which let's hope that it doesn't rise to that level, because that's really not healthy for your constituents or the public or none of us. But if I do, I will advise you.
Thank you, Ms. Teddy Bear. Anything else, Mr. Harding?
No, just that I agree with Mr. Navy, even though I went to Grambling. Thank you.
Mr. Babbitt.
Yes, Mr. Davis, I used the wrong term. It was the hourly rate increase. And I was just trying to show the fact that our employees in the government got a raise, okay? And that probably meant hourly rate for them as well. I just used the wrong terminology, okay? But just to make one other point, I was not advocating another attorney for us. I was only asking, and you see, a point of order was called on me because I was not on the agenda tonight, but yet the conversation has led to that through this whole thing. So, and I didn't call a point of order on that. But my point is, It's been discussed, and I just asked a question. So I am not advocating that, is what I'm trying to tell you. And I used the wrong choice of words. Instead of saying hourly rate increase, I said raise, all right? And with that, as I said earlier, I'm more than happy to vote for you and all the assistants again tonight, okay?
And of course, Mr. Abe, the discussion here today is whether or not our appointment for you representing administration also represents the council. Of course, on our agenda today is not whether we're going to hire a separate council. It's appointing you to represent the parish and whether that representation also represents the council. So that's where the discussion here today, just to make everything very clear. And your opinion is that you represent the council, and basically the council, in your opinion, cannot hire its own separate attorney to defend itself in court and to do those sorts of things. So it's really a moot point anyway.
That's what's in the parish charter. That's not
Right.
my opinion, that's what's in the parish charter.
Oh, I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I said that is what's in section, if I recall, it's in section 4-02. It's in the legal department's parish charter. There will be one parish attorney and assistants as appointed by the parish president, ratified by the council, to represent the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. And the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government is made up of the legislative branch, which is the council, which operates by a majority vote, except in some instances 2/3, and by the executive branch, which is represented by the parish president.
Thank you for your clarification, Mr. Abear. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Show one nay. Moving. Hold on, Mr. Abear, go ahead.
I would like to introduce, I know y'all know Brian and Derek, but I have a new assistant, Ms. Brianna. Well, stand up, Brianna. Ms. Brianna Wilson Ogeron. She's new. Y'all may know her father-in-law. He's assistant superintendent of schools, so welcome aboard. She's new. They're new in town, and so just want everybody to be able to meet. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome, Mr. Navy.
No, I just want to make sure we recognize the former parish council member here today, Mr. Wayne Thibodeau.
Yeah, Mr. Wayne, it's hard to see everybody with this mass situation we have, but thank you for coming to our meeting here today. And we did not, maybe Mr. Aber, you can clarify on that, we did not, staff left off the title of public comment, but I don't believe we need to actually add an agenda item to hear public comment, do we? What is your opinion on that?
Normally the agenda
Normally there's a heading on it.
Normally has agenda heading, public comment. It's not on the agenda. So what I would do is, if you want to have public comment, I would move to put it as an add-on. Takes a unanimous vote, put it as an add-on.
So, motion for Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. John Ami, that we add on public comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I know I was supposed to have public comment before we added public comment to the agenda, but I guess that would be a moot point. So, let's go ahead. We have one public comment, so if y'all don't mind. Miss Melissa Buchanan. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Danny Babin to go into public hearing. Who seconded it?
Second.
Gerald Michel. All in favor of diverting and going to public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any no? I say no. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Buchanan. Come on up. Go ahead and state your name and address for the record, if you don't mind.
Melissa Buchanan, 4890 Maplewood Avenue, Sulphur, Louisiana. Mr. Councilman, I really appreciate the opportunity to come before you. I am with Custom Touch Village. We are a subcontractor for the Scott Lane Base Camp. I just wanted to come to you and kind of let you know a little bit about what we are. I know there's been some questions and comments about the property there. We are the owners of the assets there. We provide staffing to take care of your residents that are staying with us. We have do everything from meal prep that starts early in the morning at 3 a.m. and goes through the day. We provide laundry services. We provide support services, housekeeping, and we are there. We work as a subcontractor for that area. And we just wanted to come introduce our company to the council and let you know that we're available to you. We want to support and help the parish work through these transitional housing problems and opportunities, and just be here to help and see how we can help going forward to help with some of these solutions. So mainly that's what we're here for today, and answer any questions that you might have of us and anything that we can do to help support. We build our own buildings. We are a licensed Louisiana state building for industrial building code, residential codes, HUD products, RV products. We build our own products and we manage our own facilities. So that's how we became a part of the Terrebonne plan.
Thank you very much. We can engage in limited conversation. It's not an item on our
Sure,
agenda, but
sure.
I'll go ahead and entertain Mr. Harding.
Miss Melissa, your services that you provide, you know what I mean, that's the only place that you are providing the service in Terrebonne Parish?
Yes, the Scott Lane project is the only project that our company is providing the services and assets for.
Okay, so you know, are there any other areas that existing within the state of Louisiana that you actually have been doing?
We do services in Sulphur, Louisiana on a industrial side of it, but as far as currently for the parish, we are currently doing that here. We are also providing something in Lafourche Parish.
So you not only just actually build them, you actually home
We do
them.
everything from the first 2x4 that goes in to putting sheets on the bed and taking care of the guests.
And the sheets on the bed, you actually, and at that facility, do you actually wash the tenants'
Absolutely.
clothes?
The tenants' clothes, we provide all the linens, we do all the tenants' clothes and provide that. We provide all their meals, special dietary needs are addressed. So if someone is diabetic or something like that, we meet all those needs as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harding. Ms. Doman.
Yes, Miss Melissa, thank you for being here tonight. I've visited that facility several times with Mr. Harding. I have several patients that are there as well, and just know that they feel right at home there. The services that you're providing has been so wonderful, especially for that population that has lost everything. So just to have that little bit of comfort, it's been so nice, and I get the feedback that they really, really love it, and that you guys are doing a wonderful job. Just a couple nights ago, though, we did appoint an agency that's going to help with transition, and so quite possibly you can get with our chairman after the meeting and get the information of that agency so that you can work with them, because they're actually going to be working on that. So so that would be really beneficial for you.
Absolutely. We
Thank
are
you.
very passionate about taking care of the people. That's what we're in this for, and it's very satisfying to do that, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Buchanan, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Going on to public hearing, item A, an ordinance to declare the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's intent to acquire full ownership of a tract of land bearing Terrebonne Parish Parcel ID number 4153 with an owner of record, Ronald Good, and to address other matters related thereto. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Harding. Seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Harding. Seconded, Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item B, an ordinance to declare a public servitude by destination under Louisiana Revised Statute 47:2235B over a tract of land bearing Terrebonne Parish Parcel ID number 4153 with an owner of record, Ronald Good. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Amity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Amity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not exceeding $50 million taxable hurricane recovery revenue bonds in one or more series of the Parish of Terrebonne, State of Louisiana. Public once? Public twice? And public three times here? Mr. Trosclair?
Yes, I'll make a motion, and at the request of administration, to continue public hearings for 2 weeks.
We have a motion by Mr. Trostler at recommendation of administration to continue the public hearing for 2 weeks, seconded by Ms. Domingue. Any discussion, Mr. Michel?
Yeah, anybody want to share why?
Ms. Malden, I gotta turn the light off. Hold on.
Yes, sir, Mr. Michel. We did go to State Bond Commission this week and got approval, but the timing-wise to get the bid packets from the bank, we didn't have enough time to go through them and get the detail information, so that's why we want to hold it over for 2 weeks to make sure we get the best deal possible and present the detail to y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. Babin?
That's a great reason.
Yes, and I was going to ask this question, but it can be at the 2 weeks from now. We understand it because it's in our backup. At the next meeting, just for the general public, give a reason why we're talking about $50 million is a lot of money.
Yes,
okay?
sir. And
so we can better explain it to
right.
the
And I can
constituents.
do a quick explanation
Sure, that's
tonight,
fine.
if you don't mind.
No.
The money that we're trying to get is really to help us the immediate needs, the immediate cash needs. It is going to be repaid back as FEMA and insurance funds come in. So it's not $50 million that we're going out and spending on anything. It's what we've already spent for the immediate emergency from the hurricane, and it will be paid back through FEMA and or insurance refunds.
And that's why I wanted someone of your statute to say that on, because everybody knows when you say it, it's very factual. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Michel?
So just from my understanding, we're going to do a bond. There's going to be a period of time for that loan, and then when FEMA pays us back, we're going to pay it off in advance.
We're going to pay it back as we get the FEMA reimbursements.
Okay,
so
you.
as those come in, it immediately starts getting paid back. So it will not be out there as a liability for a very long, well, depends on FEMA and when they repay us, but that's when we'll pay it back.
Thank you.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, and it don't have to be the whole 50 million. There are increments that we can do. Also,
Correct.
right?
It could be up to that. Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is continued. Item 3, committee reports. Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee. Mr. Carl Harding.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee held January 24th, 2022, and I have no public hearings.
Motion by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Guidry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B, Community Development and Planning Committee. Mr. Steve Trostler.
Thank you. I make a motion that council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on January 24, 2022, and have one public hearing. To amend Section 20-30A to include the Larry J. Randolph Community Park and Section 21-31 of Chapter 21, Article 2 of the Parish Code to rename Gray Recreation Park to Larry J. Randolph Community Park, and calling a public hearing on Wednesday, February 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Trostler, seconded by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Budget and Finance Committee. Mr. Carl Harding.
I motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on January 24, 2022. I have 3 public hearings. The first would be an ordinance declaring a 2014 Dodge Charger unit number 368 from City Marshal having the value of $11,000 as surplus, and authorizing said item to be disposed of by an any legal approved method, and calling for a public hearing on Wednesday, February 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. The second would be an ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operation budget, 5-year capital outlay budget, and budgeting position of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items, and to provide for related matters. West Side Alma Street Drainage Project, $1,359,783. Home ARP, $1,002,000. $235,848. Number 3, sanitation, $509,000. Number 4, housing and human services, $55,786. Number 5, planning, $3,000, which is actually to the good, $3,545. Adding a enforcement inspector, grade 107, and deleting code enforcement officer number 2, grade 108, and having a public hearing on Wednesday, February 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. And the third, ordinance declaring parish property located at 827 Greenwich Street, parcel number 42160 as surplus and not needed for public purpose, addressing matters relative thereto, and calling for a public hearing on February 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Harding, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Public Services Committee, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee held on January 24th, 2022, and I have no public hearings.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Amity, second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. And I'm asking my fellow council members when we do appointments, unless it's a motion to hold for 2 weeks, if you could put on your light so I could recognize you. That way I won't have to repeat what the motion is for the record so we get it into the mic. Item A, Fire District 10 Board, 1 expiring term on January 1, 2022, and 1 unexpired term. Mr. Devon K. Charles expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Babin.
Yes, I'd like to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Charles.
We have a motion by Mr. Babin to open, close, and reappoint. I'm sorry. To open, close, yes, and appoint Mr. Devon Charles, seconded by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item B, TITA, 1 expired term, representing the Terrebonne Parish Council. Derek Dark submits application for consideration.
Second.
What, Mr. Navy?
Point of order.
Okay, Mr. Navy, go ahead and, if you don't mind repeating that.
Open, close, and appoint.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Navy.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Dark is appointed. Are any of those members here? Okay. Item 5, these are vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions coming up. We have the Veterans Memorial District, 2 unexpired terms due to resignation, 1 representing the parish president south of the Intercoastal, and 1 representing the American Legion Post 380, and 1 expired term representing the Vietnam Veterans of America. Recreation District 3A has 1 expired term and 1 unexpired term due to resignation. Recreation District number 6, 1 expired term. Recreation District number 7, 1 expired term. Bayou Blue Fire Protection District, 1 expired term. The Bayou Cane Fire Protection District, 1 expired term. Coteau Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term and 1 unexpired term due to a resignation. Fire District number 8, 1 expired term. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Coastal Zone Management Restoration has 1 expired term representing the public. Homa Housing Authority, 1 expired term, and the Homa Board of Zoning Adjustments has 1 vacancy due to a resignation. The vacant position is for an alternate member. So if you would like to apply for any of those, please contact council staff. Announcements. I'm not seeing our parish president. Any council announcements? Mr. Michaud?
Yeah, I just want a little clarification on this putting on the light thing. Is this a change in procedure? Is this something that we should vote on? And do we have to put our light on when we second something? This is the first I hear this, and I'd like some clarification, please.
Mr. Michaud, this is a procedure that I'm putting into place. This is a chairman's procedure, and in the past, I would repeat your motion, into the microphone so that the recording would pick it up, because we had people saying, I want to appoint this person, hold this person, appoint this other person. Then I would have to repeat that so it would get on the mic. This way, if you make the motion, it goes directly into the mic. And so that way staff can get it. It's a way to assist staff. And so I'm trying to make their job easier. Thank you,
And
Mr.
that's
Michel.
great. That's a great thing to do. But in the future, I'd maybe suggest letting us know, before the meeting, so we're aware of it instead of doing it on the fly. Thank you very much.
Mr. Babin.
Yes, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of action on cleaning up Terrebonne Parish, and I know it's very early, but I want to mention it every meeting. We had a cleanup in Grand Kaya last year, which I think we picked up over 20,000 pounds of trash, and Ms. Janie Voisin is in charge of it, and this year is going to be on March 26th, so we'd like everybody to come and participate in the cleanup in the Grand Kaya area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Seeing no more lights? We have a motion to adjourn, Mr. Trosclair, seconded Mr. Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.